and welcome to Gentex Multimedia live streaming on this Friday, the 5th of February. Well, it's a beautiful day out there, and we'd like to once again welcome you all to this wonderful event. Well, let's first of all take a very quick look at what we have got in the way of headlines. But once again, welcome to this weekend edition. Thank you so much for joining us in here. Well, advice is sought after Pfizer vaccine deaths. Australian government is seeking immediate advanced information after Norway reported 29 deaths related to Pfizer vaccine. Lorna Jane has been sued over ridiculous virus claim. Popular sportswear brand Lorna Jane has been hit with a lawsuit over alleged false claim its activewear would kill coronavirus. Latest unemployment figures unveiled. The latest unemployment figures have been revealed with 90,000 more Australians finding work in November. That is very encouraging news. Prince Andrew Pell arrested on sex charges. A wealthy fashion designer and close friend of Prince Andrew, who hosted parties for young girls in his mansion, is facing charges against girls as young as 14. Flight Centre is accused of underpaying staff. Flight Centre has been taken to court over wage payments and alleged short-changed workers hundreds of thousands of dollars. They are in big trouble now because, well, first of all, the travel industry is not doing well, and now this burning eyes is a mystery disease now in India. Health authorities in India's southeast are scrambling after an unknown illness hospitalized hundreds of people within few days. Now the news that everyone's been waiting for, Trump confirms that he would return and run for elections in 2024. Bandits leave city streets with chaos. A heavily armed gang of bandits stormed the Brazilian city, shooting civilians and taking hostages before robbing a bank. So there are some updates there. And un-Australian workers less Qantas cull. Qantas has confirmed thousands of staff will lose their jobs after a decision to outsource the majority of its ground handling operations. So that's the way things are going, outsourcing everything. And yesterday we heard from the CEO of Virgin Australia, and she had mentioned that jobs would be cut if the JobKeeper is not extended, and the government is pretty adamant that JobKeeper will not be extended as they reckon that they don't have unlimited resources of funds. Well, what's today and the weekend is going to look like? With that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 30 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy with a very slight chance of shower. Light winds becoming easterly 15 to 25 km per hour in the middle of the day and then becoming light in the evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. Tomorrow, that is Saturday, minimum will be 21 and maximum will be 32. Brisbane area will be partly cloudy with light winds. Sun protection is recommended from 10 to 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. On Sunday, minimum will be 22 and maximum will increase to 33. Brisbane area will be mostly sunny with slight chance of a shower and thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening. Light winds becoming northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the afternoon and then becoming light in the evening. Sun protection is recommended from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much, Dilraj, for that update. Now we know how to plan our weekend. Well, planning the weekend, of course, we know that BrisAsia is once again happening right here in Brisbane. And yesterday was the VIP launch of the BrisAsia 2021. Let's take a very quick look at what happened yesterday.
the ocean itself. Practice without any sense of limit or
continue to celebrate and support a tolerant, inclusive society. Witnessing us here, it is quite an extraordinary place and one of a kind, in a place where we can come together.
Yep.
And I know there is massive need, but to see the way that our society turns into the year of the ox, and it truly was the year of the rat, to talented performers, and I know there might be a few more coming afterwards, to our
residencies and exhibitions. Tonight's opening event brings us influences to celebrate Brisbane's unique and diverse community. Welcome. And Lady Mayoress, past, present and emerging. Our First Nation people are our storytellers, guardians of traditional
Well, that's where she used to live. About 7 years later, and her kids moved out from here with his Aboriginal families. A long, long time.
This is Tanvi Goyal, PR of GoPio Queensland.
And I'm Umesh Chandra.
GoPio Queensland invites you to India Day Fair fundraising gala dinner.
Get ready for a fun-filled evening of mesmerizing music with delicious food.
Raffles, auctions and some special surprises.
And you can dress in your Indian attire or come with your formal attire.
And tickets are limited, so please book immediately to prevent any disappointment.
And you can book via Eventbrite, and the link is www.eventbrite.com.au/India Day Fair fundraising.
Thank you to all our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors are Springfield City Group and New Style Developments.
And our gold sponsors are Dream Style Decorators and Bipel.
And silver sponsors are Rise, Sleep Health and Professionals and Gora Travel.
And very special thanks to Brisbane City Council, MP Peter Rosso, ECCQ and MP Miss Leanne Leonard.
And also our exclusive media partners, Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio.
And for a fun-filled night, raising much-needed funds for GoPio's India Day Fair. See you all there.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Chentex Multimedia, streaming live to your device all the way from Brisbane on this 5th day of February 2021. Well, yes, time is flying past. Well, right now we'll go to and join with our Prime Minister for the press conference which we had yesterday, and it was good to connect as well and witness it happening live. So here is the key points or his address from yesterday's press conference.
Thank you for joining us. I'm joined by the Minister for Health, Greg Hunt, and Aged Care, and the Secretary for the Department of Health. we'll be making a number of announcements on vaccines, and I'll come to that in a moment. But let me deal with two other important issues. First of all, the bushfires that are threatening lives and property in the Perth Hills. Provided an update to the Parliament yesterday. Further update I have today is the situation is going to continue to be very dangerous. The bushfire has impacted northern and northeast suburbs of Perth. There still remains the potential for gusts of up to 60 to 70 kilometres an hour, which may cause embers to carry ahead of the main fire, which we had been seeing. Several kilometres ahead, those embers were blowing forward previously, and those weather conditions continue not to be assisting. As you said yesterday, confirmed reports of at least 71 properties and 2 firefighting vehicles have been destroyed. The burn scale now is some 10,000 hectares. Over 1,300 homes and businesses are without power, and there is significant damage to the electricity network, including 800 poles and 100 transformers. And there are disruptions to telecommunications due to the loss of power. Residents have been evacuated in some WA communities, but fortunately there are so far no reports of serious injuries. Our concerns remain, of course, for those who are fighting the fires, noting that a number of firefighters have received injuries, minor injuries, which does occur in the course of their dangerous work, and they understand that. But we nonetheless are concerned for their safety. There are 2 large air tankers will be assisting with fighting the fire in Western Australia under the National Aerial Firefighting Arrangements. There were meetings yesterday that further address those issues and taking the advice on what was necessary. Those arrangements ensures that those large tankers and other assets which are either owned by states or shared between states, and they're deployed in accordance with the expert advice of where they need to be, and other issues regarding further reagent and those sorts of things are also being addressed through that process. There's some more than 500 career and volunteer firefighters who are out there working together against the fire, and the aerial support has been sent to support the ground crews. So it remains a concerning situation. We're working closely with the Western Australian Government amongst all of our officials, and myself directly with the Premier as needed, but they know they will get what they need, and I think they're doing a very good job, as well as dealing with the other challenges that they're presently facing in Perth. On a more positive note, today I had a very warm and engaging call with President Biden, and we appreciated the opportunity to have that conversation in an early phase amongst the many nations that they've engaged with early on in that process. As he said to me again today, he sees the Australia-US relationship as providing the anchor for peace and security in our region, and that is true. We share that view. In terms of our relations between Australia and the United States, there's nothing to fix there, only things to build on, and we intend to do just that. Talked about the stewardship we share, that a stewardship that has been held by Prime Ministers and Presidents over a very long time, and particularly this year, some 70 years of the ANZUS alliance that we will celebrate in September of this year. I spoke to former Prime Minister Howard. We were at Doug Anthony's funeral the other day, and he reminded me that it was 20 years ago in September when he was in the United States to address the Congress on the 50th anniversary of ANZUS, and of course while he was there it was September 11. And so we spoke about that today, remembering that it is 20 years since September 11. And we stood with the United States then, as we always have and always will, spoke of the fact that Australia looks to the United States, but we never leave it to the United States. We do our share of the heavy lifting in this relationship, and that is absolutely respected by the President and appreciated. And so a very warm call. So we affirmed our commitment to the things that absolutely always matter, those relationships, particularly the alliance relationships, but also the Five Eyes relationships and the broadening of those of that agenda on the Five Eyes. The Quad relationship, a high priority for the Biden administration as it works with Australia and its partners within the region, and what we refer to now as the G7 plus dialogue. Australia is not a member of the G7, that's not the point, but we have now been invited on 3 occasions while I've been Prime Minister, and there have been other occasions in the past. And that G7 plus dialogue enables a broader discussion of issues amongst like-mindeds, liberal democracies, market-based economies. And this is a very positive move, and deals with everything from technology partnerships, supply chains, the security of those, the economic recovery, COVID issues and cooperation. So we will continue to work together on the key global and regional challenges and in the Indo-Pacific, and there is an absolute affirmation and understanding that we are in this together.
We are in this together, as the Prime Minister mentioned, and of course the Indo-Pacific bubble, and talking about working together with all the neighbouring island nations as well. So that is a good news. But of course on the vaccine, and as soon we will be joining in with Minister Greg Hunt, and I was fortunate to be part of that community consultation yesterday on the distribution of the vaccine. $31 million has been set aside for the ethnic media and many community organizations to spread that word around, get that word out into the community. So it was a wonderful, teleconference and our Zoom meeting yesterday, which went on for quite some time, and it was good to see so many, community leaders joining in onto that, and that is coming up right after this commercial break.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And real estate is the world, and don't forget that every Wednesday we get the real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty, and we talk about all the latest trends and investment portfolios and how things are working in that. But don't forget that today at 4 p.m. we'll have the migration update live here from these studios with Suman Dua. So there's so much that's happening in that field, and people are so many, many people are worried about their visa status and what's happening. So we will be discussing that live right here at 4 p.m. today. So don't forget to tune in to that segment as well with Suman Dua with the migration update today at 4 p.m. Now I was talking about Minister for Health, Mr. Greg Hunt, and yesterday we had this big Zoom meeting of the community leaders and ethnic media, the leading ethnic media in and around Australia, because with the vaccine, what's going to happen is they really need to get that message out to all the people, out to the communities, and rather than just relying on the government releases, they are reaching out to the ethnic media and anyone who is involved with ethnic media or with all leading organizations that they partnered with everyone yesterday to get, seek assistance, and said how we can work together with government agencies in getting that message out to the community.
Minister, let's start with vaccines. You can't force people to get them. Based on the take-up of the regular flu vaccine, what percentage of the population do you anticipate will opt in for the COVID vaccine?
So we'd like to see as many people as possible. We've provided 150 million vaccines, enough for every Australian 3 times over, and as a consequence of that, we're in a strong position that we've had 95.1% of 5-year-olds vaccinated and reached that level in the quarter just finished, the highest level on record, the first time we've passed the 95% figure. What that shows is Australians have great confidence, but we'll continue to work with the public in providing expert advice and confidence and encourage as many as possible to take up the vaccine. It protects them, but it also protects their parents and grandparents.
What percentage of the population will you need to get vaccinated at a minimum for the country to have enough protection to function normally without border closures and so on?
Well, we have to keep moving towards as many as possible. We're not putting a specific figure on it because it's about progressive vaccination. Each additional person adds protection for themselves, but they also help add protection for the nation.
Let's say 95% of the population did get vaccinated, that figure you mentioned before. You could still have cases here, particularly when international travel starts. But if 9 out of 10 Australians are vaccinated, does that mean that you can have cases without needing to have lockdowns and other restrictions?
Well, we absolutely want to get ourselves to a situation where if we can ensure that people are not getting seriously ill, if they're not facing hospitalisation, and the clinical trials for the vaccines that Australia has purchased have indicated up to 100% protection against serious illness, then that will give us the capacity to open up. We've always recognised that the world is going to be a long way away from eradicating this disease, and whilst it's abroad in the world, it can always appear in Australia. But if you have a population that is vaccinated and therefore protected against the serious illness, then you have the best chance of ensuring that there's no risk to the hospitals and therefore that we can live as normal a life as possible.
Given the plans to vaccinate everybody by the end of October, does that mean Australia's international borders will be open as per normal by Christmas?
I won't make a false guarantee, but we think that during the course of the year the opportunities will increase as the pandemic likely subsides internationally, and for the first time we've seen a number of weeks of sustained slow decrease in global numbers, although the number of those losing their lives has continued to increase before stabilising just recently. But as that process of the pandemic numbers decreasing and the number of people who are vaccinated here increases, then we'll be able to make new steps in opening up Australia, as we've done with the New Zealand bubble, and people can come to Australia from New Zealand. We'll obviously look at the South Pacific, and then we'll look at other countries, and as we see success in other countries and increasing vaccination rates in Australia, the risk from overseas will be less and the protections in Australia will be greater.
On quarantine, it's a federal role under the Constitution, although the agreement reached at National Cabinet was for the states to manage it during COVID. Shouldn't the federal government be providing more money and resources to the states to assist?
Well, I have to say that just in health, for example, we've provided over $20 billion, so there's no question about federal contribution.
Well, shouldn't there be more, though? It's a big role.
And safety. Well, it is, and the important thing here is that the agreement is that the Commonwealth would carry the lion's share of the economy, and in health it's been, as I say, over $20 billion. We're paying for the vaccines, we're paying for the distribution, we're spending over $6.3 billion on vaccines alone. Everybody has a part to play.
You say everybody has their role, but the state governments get the heat when there are outbreaks, which seem to be unavoidable. Isn't more money the very least the federal government could do, given that the states are administering what is your responsibility?
No, with great respect. There was a partnership established from the outset, the Commonwealth picking up the extraordinary investments in JobKeeper and JobSeeker, the investment in health, the investment in making sure that we're looking at our airlines, we're providing the flights for those from overseas, and so I don't think that money's the issue here. It's about capacity to make sure that we have the volume of places and the workforce to support the great human task of bringing Australians home.
Victorians endured months of lockdown last year, ordered by their state government to bring the virus under control in their state. A lot of them then put up with having their Christmas holidays ruined in response to a small cluster of cases in Sydney. Victorians good-naturedly tolerated all of that. Now, despite a COVID case among the tennis cohort, Victorians are told that the Australian Open will be fine to go ahead with the hundreds of people that involves. Is that consistent and reasonable?
I'll respectfully leave that to the Victorian Government to explain.
Well, you're the Federal Health Minister, should it go ahead?
Well, I will. We've always left these decisions to the state. I will respectfully not trample on the very federal points which we were making previously, and I'll respectfully leave that to the Victorian Premier and Chief Health Officer to outline.
Greg Hunt, thank you.
Take care. Cheers.
So that was the press conference, part of the speech from that was also included in the press conference that we had, and it was quite a lengthy meeting that we had with the health minister yesterday. It was from 11:30 till about 2:30 p.m. And so much that was discussed, so much concerns from the community as well, and it was good to see that they took on board a lot of the things that we put forward and all the things that were being said.
Hi everyone, this is Tanvi Goyal, PR of Gopio Queensland.
And I'm Umesh Chandra.
Gopio Queensland invites you to India Day Fair fundraising gala dinner.
Get ready for a fun-filled evening of mesmerizing music with delicious food.
Raffles, auctions and some special surprises.
And you can dress in your Indian attire or come with your formal attire.
And tickets are limited, so please book immediately to prevent any disappointment.
And you can book via Eventbrite, and the link is www.eventbrite.com.au/India Day Fair fundraising.
Thank you to all our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors are Springfield City Group and New Style Developments.
And our gold sponsors are Dream Style Decorators and Bipel.
And silver sponsors are Rise, Sleep Health and Professionals and Gora Travel.
And very special thanks to Brisbane City Council, MP Peter Russo, ECCQ and MP Miss Leanne Leonard.
And also our exclusive media partners, Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio.
And for a fun-filled night, raising much-needed funds for Gopio's India Day Fair. See you all there.
Thank you.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Gopio Queensland's fundraising gala dinner in raising much-needed funds for hosting of India Day Fair 2021. Well, right now we're moving on with the news. Let's take a look at where are the hot spots and how have they been declared.
The Security and Emergency Management Committee met today following the positive case announced in Melbourne late last night. The Chief Health Officer has spent the morning conferring with his colleagues on AHPPC and learning more about the case and the close contacts. While we don't know precisely how the man became affected, we know that the man's household contacts have tested negative, and other close contacts have been identified, tested and are isolating. We know that everyone who has been at the Grand Hyatt since the 28th will be going back into quarantine. We know that the contact tracing and testing regime that Victoria has in place has had a lot of practice by now, and we do have confidence in it. And we know that there's not appear to be any breaches of protocol that will cause us to have further concerns about the risk of spread. So there is cause for confidence. But we are always cautious, because we are the safest place in Australia and we want to stay that way. To stay cautious, to stay safe, we are declaring 10 suburbs in Melbourne as hotspots for the purposes of travel to the Northern Territory. This declaration is effective as of 3:30 p.m. today. From then, arrivals who have spent time in these areas will be directed into mandatory supervised quarantine. Anyone who's already in the Territory or who has spent time in these suburbs since 29th of January is directed to self-isolate and get a COVID-19 test and stay isolated until receiving a negative test result. The affected suburbs are Melbourne and West Melbourne in the City of Melbourne, Noble Park, Keysborough and Springvale in the City of Greater Dandenong, Brighton in the City of Bayside, Brandon Park in the City of Monash, Clayton South, Heatherton and Moorabbin in the City of Kingston. Those that are arriving by plane this afternoon will be met and interviewed by our public health team. Anyone who's from a hotspot will be directed into supervised quarantine at no cost to them, and afforded the opportunity to return to Melbourne if they wish at the next opportunity. For those who need to self-isolate, the information and hotlines you need are on the NT Coronavirus website. Please be patient. Our teams will work as hard as they can, for as long as they can, to get you the information you need.
So the information that you need will be made available, and of course we know that at this point in time it is still touch and go. Of course the restrictions are easing, but who knows? All you need is one more case to raise his head, and of course the restrictions will be implemented. And if you are planning to travel or you are traveling, you could then be caught up in that kind of situation. But such is life. You need to do what you need to do and get on with that. So from Victoria we go straight to Gold Coast, where the latest news has just come in from the QPS.
A woman has died and a man is missing following a drowning incident overnight at Broadbeach. At around 10 p.m. last night, a woman in her late 20s was found unconscious at the water's edge at Kurrawa Beach. Queensland Ambulance responded and were unable to resuscitate her, and sadly she was pronounced life extinct. We have CCTV footage showing her and a male at the waterfront. The male, we believe, is in his early 30s. His clothes were found on the beach, but he has not been located. He is still reported missing. No further details can be given in relation to either person, as the police have not spoken to any of the next of kin. We won't be speaking about them until that happens. In relation to our investigation, police deployed resources last night. Rescue 500 also joined in and conducted flyovers, and they've also done flyovers this morning. Gold Coast Water Police have deployed their vessel and are in the area at the moment, and they are being assisted by volunteer agencies. Police are also patrolling the beaches using their ATVs. At this time, we are conducting a recovery mission. I'm told by the officer in charge of the Water Police that some of our beaches are currently closed, and we're reassessing that as we go throughout the day.
So that's the tragic news coming out of Broadbeach yesterday, and of course right now we'll go to Western Australia and look at the fire damage that's been done there. So you can see big sheds and barns, completely ruined, gone down to the ground. Pretty grim glimpses there of Western Australia, but right now we'll go to Myanmar. We go to the overseas news now, and Myanmar, where the captivated leader has been charged or accused of importing illegal walkie-talkies in absence of mobile phones.
Disquiet is growing in Myanmar's biggest city. For a second night, the sound of dissent could be heard on the streets of Yangon.
This coup is an insult. People were living peacefully and things were stable.
Images of protesting health workers were shared on social media before the junta announced it was blocking Facebook to ensure stability. But members of Aung San Suu Kyi's party are urging calm.
There'd be a clash if we took to the streets. Then the military would use that as a reason to extend and legitimise the coup.
The 75-year-old deposed leader has been charged with illegally importing walkie-talkies. If convicted, it'll mean she can't stand in next year's elections.
The charges filed against her just compound the undermining of the rule of law.
International calls are mounting for the release of those detained. We don't want the military, chanted expats in Bangkok, while in Tokyo thousands called for action.
Free, free, free Mama!
The UN Secretary-General wants world leaders to ensure this coup fails.
We're continuing to review our sanctions authorities and other options.
But the Security Council may struggle for support from China, a key ally and investor in Myanmar.
What's being said is not true. As Myanmar's friendly neighbour, we wish that all sides can appropriately resolve their differences.
In the meantime, government officials have been sent packing. Tanks roll through the streets and Aung San Suu Kyi is being kept out of public view. Mazoe Ford, ABC News.
Well, that's that news coming out of Myanmar as well. And of course, the next news is on the Olympics. Well, now I'm going to put the question to you. Do boys talk much more than the girls? We'll find out in this next clip.
Organisers have spent the last year running tests and trials to figure out how to hold the Games safely in the middle of a pandemic. Now they think they've worked it out.
There will be a number of constraints and conditions that the participants will have to respect and follow.
The International Olympic Committee has released a playbook for officials and people in close contact with athletes. It includes restrictions on public transport, cheering, chanting, singing, hugs and high fives. Those who don't comply could be kicked out. It's not yet known if spectators will even be allowed at the Games, but athletes are learning to roll with the punches.
Let's be honest, if I swim in front of nobody, I've got my head underwater most of the time. I have no idea what's happening. Like, you can't hear anything.
The release of this book is part of a campaign to shift the narrative from one of fear and uncertainty to hope, to show that organisers have learnt much more about the virus in the last 12 months and from the many sporting events that have been held successfully in that time. But the document is light on detail on questions like what would happen if a team member tests positive. Tokyo is still under a state of emergency and hospitals in Japan are stretched. The idea of thousands of foreign athletes and fans coming here and potentially spreading the virus means many don't want the Games to go ahead here in July. And as if Japan's organising committee didn't have enough problems, its president Yoshiro Mori is now under fire for making sexist remarks at a board meeting of the Japanese Olympic Committee, saying that female directors talked too much, which he found annoying. This is discrimination and prejudice against women, this lone protester yelled, just one of a growing crowd calling for President Mori's resignation.
The statement I made was an inappropriate expression, contrary to the spirit of the Olympics. I am deeply remorseful.
Just one more problem to address, with a little under 6 months to go until the opening ceremony. Jake Sturmer, ABC News.
So there you go. You've heard it from the Prime Minister there that girls talk too much, and that got him in trouble, didn't it?
This is Tanvi Goyal, PR of GoPure Queensland.
And I'm Umesh Chandra.
GoPure Queensland invites you to India Day Fair fundraising gala dinner.
Get ready for a fun-filled evening of mesmerizing music with delicious food.
Raffles, auctions and some special surprises.
And you can dress in your Indian attire or come with your formal attire.
And tickets are limited, so please book immediately to prevent any disappointment.
And you can book via Eventbrite, and the link is www.eventbrite.com.au/India Day Fair fundraising.
Thank you to all our sponsors. Our platinum sponsors are Springfield City Group and New Style Developments.
And our gold sponsors are Dream Style Decorators and Bipel.
And silver sponsors are Rise, Sleep Health and Professionals and Gora Travel.
And very special thanks to Brisbane City Council, MP Peter Russo, ECCQ and MP Miss Leanne Leonard.
And also our exclusive media partners, Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio.
And for a fun-filled night, raising much-needed funds for GoPure's India Day Fair. See you all there.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have for you today. But, there have been some calls coming in to have a quick look at that BrisAsia thing once again. We will show you the glimpses once again. But before we do that, let's take a look at all the functions and events taking place here in Brisbane. So if you have any function or event that you'd like to talk about or you'd like to be included in our upcoming event section, we'll gladly do that. Please contact our office, send us a message via Facebook Messenger or whatever. There are so many means of getting in touch with us. Do send us that info and we will include your function, your event in our show. And of course, if you have any topic that you'd like to talk about, we'd love to have you on the show. We can get you via our video link, or we can also get you via audio, or if you are around the city, you can also come into our studio and do a live interview as well. Anything that's of community interest, we'd like to bring out to the community. And this, gents, I'd also like to place on record special thanks to many of the community organizations and groups on Facebook and social media who share our feed, who share our stream with their members, because it is of general knowledge and it is of news spreading nature, community engagement and what's happening in the community, to find out about all the functions and events, and of course restrictions and new laws that come in as well. And don't forget that today at 4 p.m. we'll be joined by Suman Dua with the migration update. Well, okay, as requested, we'll leave you with the glimpses of BrisAsia's opening night, which took place yesterday.
Continue to celebrate and support a tolerant, inclusive society. Watching us here, it is quite an extraordinary place and one of a kind, in a place where we can come together. Yep. And I know there is massive but to see the way that our society turns into the year of the ox, and it truly was the year of the rat, to talented performers, and I know there might be a few more coming afterwards, to our
residencies and exhibitions. Tonight's opening event brings us influences to celebrate Brisbane's unique and diverse community. Welcome. And Lady Mayoress, your past, present and emerging. Our First Nation people are our storytellers, guardians of traditional
Well, that's where she used to live. About 7 years later, and her kids moved out from here with his Aboriginal families. A long, long time.
beautiful location down there on Breakfast Creek as well. It's all new and modern there, but I still miss that old, old style when it was, when we first came there, all the road we could drive on the other side, you look at that hotel there, still looks very good, but I mean, it's nice and bright and new, but still misses that old charm. Well, that's just me. Well, right now, that's all we have for you. Remember that this weekend, there is no show, so we will be back on Monday. But don't forget that 4 p.m. today, we have the migration updates with Suman Dua. So please do tune in for that very important segment of migration updates and what's happening in that field as well. So we bring to you many things of community interest. We have the real estate update with Usa Chandra, travel updates with Tanvi Goyal of Oz India Travel, and of course we have the migration updates, which is brought to you by Suman Dua, migration agent. So there's so much that, and of course lately we had a very good discussion with the IMA, the Indian Medical Association, and we're going to very soon be launching a segment on health, and that is very important because there's many parts of health which we really need to talk about, including mental health and of course women's health, and so many topics that needed to be talked. And so it's wonderful to see that all the doctors have come together and agreed. So we've had our initial meeting and they've all agreed to do it, and I'd like to thank them for their commitment. We will watch out for the announcement date, and as soon as we have enough segments to put to air, we will start that segment again. So once again, thank you so much for being with us, for joining with us. It's so good to see you all the time. Thank you so much for joining in, and until Monday is goodbye for me from this segment. But don't forget that the migration safar, which is presented in Hindi at 4 p.m. today. Thank you very much. Until then, stay safe and be good.